Welcome to More Than a Funeral, Voices of the Red River Valley, the podcast powered by Corsmo Funeral and Cremation Service of Moorhead, Minnesota, serving the Fargo, Moorhead, and surrounding area for over 67 years. More Than a Funeral, Voices of the Red River Valley is the podcast that brings you the stories, voices, and insights that shape our community. I'm your host, Tom Pence, and each month we'll be joined by local people of interest, leaders, experts, neighbors from around the Red River Valley to discuss the topics that matter most to you. Whether it's culture, business, history, or the issues that impact our daily lives, we're here to share, learn, and connect. If you enjoy today's conversation, be sure to share it, subscribe, follow us, so you never miss an episode. We'd love to have you join us for future discussions and continue bringing you more voices from around the valley. So sit back, enjoy, relax, grab a cup of Lutheran Church coffee to go with your Rice Krispie bar, and enjoy today's conversation. We're glad you stopped by. Good afternoon, podcast listeners, and welcome back once again to More Than a Funeral, Voices of the Red River Valley. I'm Tom Pence, your host, and it is a pleasure today to get together with Jordan McCormick, who is the Executive Director of Furniture Mission right here in Fargo, North Dakota. And for all of you listeners that are out of state, and actually a few of you out of country, we are recording in the middle of February, and we're having a pleasant day here. It's about, might be about 15 degrees. Snow is melting, so some of you in Thailand, you might not be able to relate to that. So at any rate, Jordan, thank you for joining us today, and welcome back.
Absolutely, and thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
You're very welcome. Furniture Mission kind of came across my radar a number of months ago. A friend suggested we talk with you, and we finally getting around to it, but tell me a little bit, first of all, about Furniture Mission. I think it's easily described by a phrase I think that you use. It's like a food bank, but with furniture. I've seen that many times. That has popped up, and people often wonder, what Furniture Mission, what's that all about?
Yeah, and so that phrase was kind of born out of necessity, as, you know, people want to say, hey, I want to learn a little bit more. And it got a little cumbersome to kind of describe the whole process, but that's exactly what we are. The industry term for what we do is that we're a furniture bank. Okay. And it's just like a food bank, but just with furniture. We accept gently used donated furniture items, and then we re-gift those items to local families and individuals who are in crisis or critical transitions.
Right on.
Yeah.
Well, we will get into the nuts and bolts and how that works in a few minutes, but just before we talk a little bit about you, at least what we can talk about, sure. Tell me a little bit about, I guess, how it started. I read a little information on the website. Yeah. I did a little background on some previous interviews. I do a lot of, what do you call it, where you copy people. I pick up a lot of ideas from those people, but that's a sincerest form of flattery.
That's
right. Tell me about the beginnings way back in 2019.
Way back in 2019. So we were founded with a small group of volunteers. One of them, his name's Everett Van Engelenhoven. He really doesn't like being called the founder, but we still do. And he was a Red Cross volunteer at the time, and he was dispatched to help a family in South Dakota. They had a fire. He got them connected to a furniture bank in Sioux Falls that ultimately became our inspiration. And he saw the impact of what it meant for this family to be able to get an apartment full of furniture, get back on their feet, and just came back to this community and asked the question, who's doing this? Mm-hmm. And if nobody's doing it, should we start it? Right. Yeah, and that group just got together, and he started making some phone calls and said, hey, I've got a wild idea. Who's in? People started raising their hands and put together a board of directors and filed with the state and the IRS and created the 501c3. And the rest is history. Started serving families in April of 2020.
I like the phrase, when I was talking about the people that are getting together to organize this, they referred to them as compassionate problem solvers. Yeah. And they get things done, like you say. Another term that you have used a number of times is furniture insecurity.
Yeah.
And why don't you just touch a little bit about furniture insecurity, I guess, and how it impacts families?
Absolutely. So I think at its crux, furniture insecurity means that it means that either you can't afford to have a piece of furniture you need, or if you do have a piece of furniture and it was either destroyed or went missing, you wouldn't be able to replace it.
Okay.
And so one of the things that we talk a little bit about is when you think of your critical needs, right? Those are, you need access to water and food and medicine and shelter. Sometimes furniture isn't a part of that conversation.
Right.
But man, if you are in a crisis or you're going through a critical transition, this is the stuff that allows you to step into a new chapter with dignity, and to be able to at least have the things that allow you to live like a human so that you can face the new challenges you're there to face.
With dignity, really.
Yeah.
You touch on that in the, as I was looking at on the website, the foundational elements of Furniture Mission. Yeah. They include grace, respect, compassion, integrity, humility, and generosity. And that's pretty much exactly what you're talking about. Having myself and many people really don't think about furniture. It's like, doesn't everybody have furniture? Really? Come on.
Yeah.
But many people probably, when they're, and I'm getting ahead of myself, sometimes might have dinner on a cardboard box, something like that.
Yeah, and it's the thing that if you're fortunate enough to not have to think about it or worry about it, then that's great. The thing that I love about that too is that the inverse is also true. Is if you're looking for a way to engage with our mission, you've probably got furniture, and I'm willing to bet you've got some furniture
Yes.
that no longer really adds value to your home, or maybe you inherited it from a family member, whatever the situation. We know homes who have immediate needs today. And so that's part of our story is how can we take these items that no longer have value in your home or your family member's home, and how do we get it into the home of somebody who has an immediate need?
The way you phrased that automatically got me thinking about a dresser I have downstairs. It's like a bad habit, they just kind of keep accumulating. They get bigger and bigger.
That's right.
And of course, most people will frequently think about cleanup week, put it out on the curb, and that's a whole other issue. But yeah, I think I'll be lining up, now that I'm thinking about it, I'll be lining up a delivery for you guys here.
Yeah, that's perfect.
That's the way it works. Mm-hmm. Well, so you are we'll come back again a little bit to the nuts and bolts, but you are essentially the first executive director.
Correct.
That's officially your title, the executive director.
Yeah. I am the first full-time staff person. I'm the only staff person. Everything else we do is by the power of our volunteer team. And so it's been an interesting journey. I think I joined the team in 2022, and they needed to have some more consistency, having something be only volunteer run. Obviously, it's all hands on deck. Different people are handling different pieces, but it became pretty clear pretty quickly that this was going to continue to grow much faster than anyone thought it would. And so they thought we need to invest in a full-time person to be able to pull everything together. Just started with a mutual friend who said, hey, I know these guys, they do this thing. It's a little out there, but I thought of you right away. You should have coffee. And I like coffee. So that's all it took.
Right on. So tell me, I guess, a little bit about your path. You touched on it a little bit, but the path directly to, not directly to Furniture Mission, but a little bit about your background. You're from Oakland, California originally, but I guess between Oakland and today, fill in the blanks.
Fill in the blanks. How, why, what are you thinking? Right. All the things.
Right.
No, it's... I ended up going to school at the University of Minnesota Crookston, and so came out here for college. Here, kind of fell in love with seasons and fell in love with, I think, just the pace and the people, and it was really cool. Ended up moving around a little bit, went back to California for a while, but came back to Fargo. That's where I had friends, And I, at the time, knew I was going to need to crash on some couches, and so had some
Speaking
friends.
of furniture, right?
Yes, exactly. And ended up just doing a wide variety of things, and all of that experience led me to Furniture Mission, because it was pretty clear that they needed one person who knew a little bit to be dangerous with a lot of different things. And so
Right.
I had experience with, marketing, with facility management,
Okay.
with kind of operations management, with kind of a lot of these pieces that if something went wrong, I at least knew where to start,
Right.
which was really, really great. One of the things that I didn't have any experience, though, was with fundraising. And now, having been in the role for almost 4 years, it feels good to have some experience.
Again, a little bit more about your background. You're married, you got kids, but I know
Sure.
you're a musician too.
Yeah, been a musician for just about forever. Something that in our house growing up, music was always a part of it.
Okay.
My dad was a drummer, and I think he would describe himself as an amateur drummer, liked to play in the basement. So that meant that, on Saturday nights we would go down and we bought a bass guitar at a garage sale, and we would put on our favorite albums and play along. And at some point I got kind of pulled into joining the orchestra at my high school because my sister was in the orchestra.
The dreaded orchestra. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I didn't go to my first audition, and then the person who had lined it up for me circled back and said, "I made another one, and you're going to be there."
Okay.
And I never wanted to necessarily have that, and I'm so glad she persisted, because music's always been a huge part of my life. It's something that I serve at church with. I do just with bands in the community. I've done a little bit of everything, and it brings so much joy. And I think it's one of the things that, if we're talking about humans being human, boy, it's one of the threads that connects people.
It does.
Yeah.
You also have a background in operations management. Was that one of your degrees? That's part of what you're doing?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
I've got an undergraduate degree in organizational communications from University of Minnesota Crookston, and then I
Okay.
do have a degree in leadership from the University of Jamestown. That's a graduate degree, which honestly I only got because my wife and I were both supervisors at the time, and we got to see a lot of resumes and realized that a lot of people were having master's degrees. And so just as a household, we thought one of us should get one. She just had twins. And so she said, you're getting it
right.
because I just had twins. And yeah, I didn't really have a plan for it other than this is just an investment into whatever my future looks like. And boy, do I use it all the time.
I bet. I like to, we oftentimes hear the phrase, it's like you learn how to herd cats. And you have a lot of people, whether they're volunteers. You also deal with a lot of agencies, which we'll talk about in a moment as well. Mm-hmm. So I can see where that wide spectrum of experience that you have comes in very handy for what you're doing.
Right.
Did you say you've been with them about 4 years now as exec?
It'll be 4 years in April.
All righty. I touched on briefly the what I called the foundational elements, and I won't repeat those again too. But Furniture Mission really is very humbling, in my opinion. You work with people for the most part, to use the phrase, they're down and out. Yeah. They've had some tough times. Maybe not down and out, but down in near the edge. But they've been through some tough times. They're really not trying to impress people. So when people come to Furniture Mission, we'll talk about the referral process in just a moment. But they really have been through some stuff, whether it be a crisis in a marriage or a tangle with the law or whatever. And when you see them or your people see them, they're really not trying to impress anybody. They are there because they're humbled, safe to say.
Yeah, and I love that you brought that up, because that's something that we try to focus on when we're talking about what are we there to do. I think it can be really easy for us to let ourselves get into a space where we feel as though we're paid in gratitude, right? Mm-hmm. Our service is free. Nobody has to pay to be able to come receive furniture. You do need to be referred, and we can talk about that later. But, while we do work with a lot of people who are very grateful to be able to receive items from us, we're also here for the people who don't have that gratitude moment accessible today. I don't know about you, but sometimes it's really tough to ask for help.
Oh, yeah.
It's tough to acknowledge that you're in a situation, and whether it's because they're decisions you made or they're just circumstances that you couldn't control. Whatever the reason, it's uncomfortable. And so we serve people who are angry. We serve people who are working through the guilt or the shame or whatever it is. Or maybe this isn't their first time needing help and they're embarrassed.
Right.
We're here for those people too, and we trust that we're showing up for them how they are today. We're meeting them where they are, and we trust that maybe tomorrow, maybe a month from now, maybe a year from now, they're going to look back and go, okay, that quirky warehouse in North Fargo was full of volunteers who poured into me at the time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Every time they sit down and have breakfast at a table and chairs that they have obtained through Furniture Mission, it's reinforced and possibly can come up as seeds later that can affect many people. So it's a domino effect, more or less.
Yeah.
It does state, that, you're not really serving people that just want to upgrade their furniture. Like I say, they've been referred.
Correct.
So that's more, and I definitely have to make that point. But it does indicate, on the website that Furniture Mission is faith-based. It talks about the Christian roots. It doesn't, specifically say, we serve the Catholic faith, the Jewish faith, or Lutheran. You don't just throw money at a problem and hope it gets fixed, but you reflect all faiths, or you serve all faiths, backgrounds, and circumstances, as you talked about.
Yeah, and I think if we talk about the things that made my ears perk up when I started to have conversations about potentially stepping into this role,
right?
One of the things that I absolutely love is when the wrong people do something for the right reason.
Interesting idea.
And it's one of those things that's throughout the Bible. It's a theme where we're using people who you think, really, that's the guy or that's the girl.
I follow you now.
And everyone that was a part of it was very upfront and said, hey, we're probably the wrong people to do this, but this is so cool. This is just showing up for people that got together, came from a variety of churches, and our goal is not necessarily to lead with that or to really push our religious beliefs towards anyone or down anyone's throat or anything like that. We wanted our actions to let you know that we are led by faith. And so we do offer people Bibles when they come in to get furniture, and if they don't want one, they don't have to have one.
Right.
We serve everyone that walks through the door, regardless of background, religion, sexual orientation. It doesn't really matter to us. What matters is that you're ready to embrace this next chapter, and we want to be a part of your success story.
Let's go back a little bit to some of the numbers or the early days of Furniture Mission.
Sure.
From the 2019 launch, and then, of course, the official launch, I guess, 2020, but started in 2019. But just run some statistics by me, because it's incredible that as I read them, but I'd like to have you state them, the number of families you served, as well as the number of referral agencies that you're now working with.
Yeah, so when we first got started, that first year, 2020, we started with 5 agencies who would refer people to us, and the idea was, well, there can't be that many more.
Right.
This is probably everyone who will ever need to work with. And we were wrong. And that year, we served 131 families. We gave away about 1,100 pieces of furniture. And I think everyone kind of thought, well, we've got to be pretty close to solving this whole problem.
That's right.
We'll shut it down.
Yeah, that's right. We're done.
Yep. We'll go play golf. We'll have margaritas. It'll be fun.
Let's go listen to a band.
That's right. And to put that into context, this past year we served 813 families. We gave away just under 15,000 pieces of furniture in 2025 alone. And we have 45 referring agencies who send us families to serve, and a waiting list with more who would love to start sending us people. It continues to be something that is humbling. As long as there's a need, we want to be a part of it. Obviously, this is the type of role where if there was no more need and I had to find a different job, I would be glad to do so.
All right.
But as long as there's a need, we are humbled to be part of a solution. That growth, that first year when we gave away 1,100 pieces of furniture, that's less than our monthly average now.
Right.
And it is remarkable that we're serving 65 to 75 families every single month now with a volunteer team. It truly is astounding, and it speaks to just the nature of our volunteers themselves, who are incredible, continue to show up and find ways to say yes and to solve problems. Every week there's a new problem we've never seen before. And so
I brought you one of those, but I'll get back to that.
Can't wait. Yeah, it's like a puzzle, and I don't love puzzles, so sometimes it's a little challenging.
Mm-hmm. The referral model is really what impresses me. People are in need, that you deal with so many agencies now that they tell them about Furniture Mission. So it's an awareness, and so as more, and again, you're really a relatively young organization, and so it's continuing to grow. We'll talk a bit about that too. Mm-hmm. Well, let's talk again a little bit about the nuts and bolts. I guess how are donations made?
Sure. So if people are donating furniture to us, they can either choose to bring it to us, or we do have a pickup service. We send trucks out in the community right now regularly Tuesday and Thursday afternoons, but other days and times by appointment for just whatever situation comes up. So you call into our number, which is 701-729-1410, and we will get you on the schedule for a pickup either on a Tuesday or Thursday afternoon. We don't have a fee for that service, but we certainly encourage monetary giving as well. It helps us keep gas in the trucks and the lights on and all that good stuff. But we want to make it as easy as possible. So, for instance, like right now, we talked a little bit about that it's 15 degrees. We're still in February. Right. There's never a good time to move furniture. It's never good.
You find out who your friends are, too.
Real quick. And if there is a bad time, it is right now.
Yeah.
The winter is just really hard.
Okay.
We just had a couple of snow days, and it makes everything harder. The thing that we want people to know is, don't wait. Don't wait till spring. Just call us. Yeah. We'll send a truck. We'll send some help. We'll get it out of your home. Because we have families who have that need today. Mm-hmm. And so that's really the easiest way to donate to us with furniture items. A vast majority of our inventory comes from residences.
Mm-hmm. What I found fascinating is the idea that you are not there to stockpile furniture. You want it coming and going as quickly as possible. Saying that you have a warehouse full of chairs and tables and lazy boys is not really impressive, because you want them to be out to people.
And that's kind of the double-edged sword of our reality every single week. So we'll look and we'll go like, all right, inventory is really strong. And then immediately realize this inventory is helping nobody in our warehouse. Yeah. Our real work is to connect with those families and these agencies and make sure that we're getting it into those homes. And likewise, if we have a huge influx of inventory, our goal is not necessarily to just sit on it and feel good about ourselves. It is to open up more access, to get more people in more quickly, because if people have needs today, we want to respond. Mm-hmm. And we're not interested. In the past, what we've done is we've rented storage units when we've got huge influx of furniture. We had shipping containers on the property where we had overflow. Okay. And a lot of that was the inspiration for our recent warehouse expansion project, which we just wrapped up. But it doesn't help people if it's in a storage unit. Right. And that was something that we learned through that whole process. So our goal is to connect it with people and families as quickly as we can.
Do you ever find that you need to contact an agency, to say the YWCA, and say, we're getting a little full here. You got anybody that wants a couch?
We've never really had to work too hard to get more people in.
That's good.
Right now, we book between 2 and 3 weeks out for appointments to come pick out furniture and take it away. And there's a sweet spot. We do our very best to triage situations so that while we're not an emergency service, there certainly can be a sense of urgency with what we do. And so we want to make a way to respond to the situation where we've got a mom and young kids who just were able to secure housing and are coming out of a situation that was unexpected,
Right.
and they have nothing. What can we do? We want to be able to respond and say, hey, can you be here Friday? Can you be here Monday? When can you be here?
Yep.
We want to be a part of it. In the same way, we'll work with clients who say, hey, do you have an appointment in 6 weeks? Because that's when I'm getting my apartment.
Okay.
And we want to solve that problem too.
Flexibility.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you talked about the pickup options. There people or volunteers are willing to come to their home, apartment, or wherever. Like you say, most of them are residences. Thankfully, they're not driving around up and down the boulevards during cleanup week. Although maybe there's a volunteer that'll do that on occasion. I don't know.
We've always had a love-hate relationship with just cleanup week season.
Right.
And in years past, we've recognized our work is to get ahead of it. Because inevitably we get the phone call that says, hey, I've got a dresser. It's in great shape. I think you guys would love to take it. And we say, that sounds great. Sounds like we'd love to take it. And they say, well, we just put it outside. Looks like it's about to rain.
Oh, no.
You better come quick.
Right.
And we're not here for that type of furniture emergency, right? And that's why we want to encourage people, don't wait until cleanup week.
Good
Just
point.
call us now.
Yeah.
Let's get you on the schedule. Let's take care of it. We also want to make sure that we have a really good understanding as to where this furniture is coming from. Driving around, and we've also learned that sometimes things are on the curb because they belong on the curb.
At best.
Right. And so our job is to serve families with decency, and that to us means that we've got furniture that is safe to use and is something that is appropriate for a new family.
There's a phrase that I think about as I'm going through some of my clothes or shirts that I haven't worn, my Led Zeppelin T-shirt and things like that.
You got to keep that one.
Well, that one went a long time ago. But I've got a few T-shirts, yes. Yeah. Anyway, my point is, I do have a point, is that you wouldn't donate something that you wouldn't want. If it's crappy and falling apart, chances are somebody's not going to want that. So it's not just a way to get rid of things.
Exactly. And, in the world of donated goods, it means a little bit, that means something different to everyone.
Right.
One of the things that we like to say is that if you'd be comfortable having this piece in your daughter or granddaughter's first apartment, chances are it's going to be good enough for us.
Makes sense.
We do have a repair shop, and we've got some incredible volunteers who work miracles.
Saw that.
And they are able to bring things back to life, to make them safe, structurally sound, to make them look amazing. But we serve so many people that the vast majority of the items we get in have to be regifted without having that time put into them.
Right.
And so, that's where we want to make sure that pieces are safe for people to use, aren't, I think, so we do accept mattresses and beds. And so everyone kind of has the first thought was like, are you sure?
On the boulevard, right.
Are you sure? And so if we wouldn't accept a mattress that somebody pulled from a curb.
Right.
Because we want to have a conversation about, has this mattress always been in an infestation-free environment? Everyone jumps right to bed bugs, rightfully so. Creepy crawlies make you go, ooh. But as it turns out, there are a lot of things that you don't want living in your furniture.
Right.
And so we want to be able to make sure that we can have those conversations. And with mattresses and box springs, we do some additional treatments and screenings just to make sure that we're passing along items that are safe to use.
Good.
Yeah.
I had my experience of with furniture. Where mission was, I ordered a mattress. It's a long story, or excuse me, a frame that, and I'm not kidding. It came in at least 40 pieces because you assembled it. It had the legs, had the cross beams, another cross beam, and then slats down every type. And of course it comes in a queen size frame came in a box about the size of a small Foot Locker. How'd you get it in there? Anyway, turned out it wasn't for us, so I took it to Furniture Mission on the scheduled day, and I set it there, and I just said, basically, good luck. I don't have the instructions, if it came with instructions, but one of the volunteers said, oh, this is perfect. One of our volunteers loves challenges like this. Maybe it was you. But so I looked at it as sort of not a Rubik's Cube, but that whatever game that is with wood pieces. That's like, oh, somebody's going to have fun with this. It's all here, but you just got to figure it out. And so they do.
And they do. And that's like part of what I love about our volunteer team is they're they're welcoming of those challenges. You know, to get something like that describes so many scenarios we find ourselves in pretty regularly. Here's what I have. I'm pretty sure all the hardware's here.
There you go.
We definitely don't have the instructions.
Right.
And so whether it's like us trying to find the make and model to Google instructions or just to look at it and go, you know, we've put together a pretty good amount of these. I think we'll be able to figure it out. Yeah, always an adventure.
Reminds me of the Johnny Cash song, you know, he took one piece at a time. And I think it's Johnny Cash.
Yeah.
And before long, hey, we got a frame. All right, it's not the same color, but it doesn't matter. So,
yeah. And one of the things that we try and do in that situation is to be confident that it's safe for a family to take.
I suppose.
But also set it up in a way that we can describe to the people who ultimately take it how it should go together.
Sure.
Just to I mean, if you give a family who's getting back on their feet something that it turns out to be a huge chore, that's not really helpful.
Right. Because I noted that you don't, quote unquote, you don't deliver. They do have to take it.
Yeah.
Some assembly required.
Some assembly required.
Dreaded words.
You know, and that's where one of the phrases at the warehouse is we don't have rules, we have guidelines.
Good point.
And when you work with people don't fit into boxes. And so there are certainly situations where we will call our own number and we'll find a way to get it done. We do have trucks and we just can't do that for everyone. And so sometimes that's where we rely on our relationships with the agencies that are referring those families. A lot of them have their own vehicles or they have relationships with movers and they're able to get it done that way. But also if somebody, they come with 2 pickups and a minivan, we're here to make it happen. If they need to make a couple trips, we can accommodate that too.
Yep. So I was watching a video and it showed a particular lady kind of walking a family through, I'll call it shopping. Yeah. So that's got to be kind of cool watching people as they're picking things out, knowing that there is no charge for this.
Yeah. One of the things that I love being a part of is we pretty regularly get to have conversations that sound like, no, this isn't too nice for you.
Right.
This is something that you can absolutely take.
You deserve this.
Yeah. And I think sometimes when we're talking about people who haven't always had, I'm going to say, as much agency in their own lives, there can be a lot of power in making those types of decisions. Connecting with other furniture banks kind of throughout the nation, sometimes other places will do what's called batching or podding, where they'll say, okay, this group of furniture is pod A, this group is pod B, which one do you want? And you can't like make changes or anything like that. And I know why. It's just faster.
Yep.
And I'm not saying we won't ever get there, but as long as we can, within reason, we want to encourage people to have that level of choice in this process because we've seen so much value in it.
Yeah. Are you able to share a story or two, about some families that have been impacted? Maybe they've come back to volunteer or be a strong proponent for Furniture Mission.
Absolutely. We've got a handful of regular volunteers who met us because they received service from us.
Right.
And they just really appreciated not only the items that they received, but the way that I think we did it. We served a family yesterday, and after kind of starting the process and talking about what we're there to do and why we do it, she was kind of surprised. And she said, based on just the agency that she came through, she wasn't expecting us to be as accommodating as we were, as focused on how to serve them as maybe we were. But yeah, I think that's what people recognize is that we're not here to necessarily serve people for the sake of numbers. We're here to serve people because we start with people. I can think of, there was a woman, she had 5 kids, but there was a set of twins in there, and I have a set of twins. And so, I think there's like a secret society for parents of multiples.
I've heard that.
And so I asked her questions like, so you've got 5 kids and a set of twins in there. Are you just doing laundry constantly? And she said, yes, she was. But the person who was working with her was, she was so focused on getting things for her kids, which I think, good parent is there to do. But we kept saying, like, what are you sleeping on? Like, tell us about your space and your room. And so each appointment takes about an hour. And by the end of that hour, we finally got her to acknowledge that she was sleeping on a cot and that she really wanted to focus on just getting stuff for her kids. And we asked, would it be okay if we found a suitable bed for her too? And we wore her down, and she acknowledged, okay, we can do that. That always stands out to me, just because I think that's, when you think about people who are needing assistance or needing help, you got so many people who are just trying to make their family more comfortable, and who have ended up enduring and sacrificing and trying to make it work however they can. And if we can show up for those people, man, that's powerful.
You do state in one of your articles that it cost, from a monetary standpoint, about $300.
Yeah.
I could be wrong on that, to fully furnish a family.
Yeah, and that was our number from last year. That's something that we kind of just keep track of, just to see how, one, we want to be really intentional with our monetary gifts that our community supports us with. We're funded by local gifts and grants. We don't receive any subsidies from the state or the federal level. And it all exists because people believe in what we do. And so with that, we feel the tremendous obligation to be able to know that that's all going to impacting families. And so that's why that number is important to us. But yeah, 295, I think, was the real number for last year. And that's remarkable. Each family, on average, is taking 18 pieces from the warehouse.
Wow.
That's up from 12 pieces 2 years ago. Part of that is we just are having more inventory, and so we have more things to be able to help more families, which is really incredible.
So I kind of ruined the curve, because my frame was like 40 was 40 pieces. I blew that on the curve wrecker. I mean, we've been talking really about furniture, but you know, when I bring up the dollar amount, because obviously money is very important. Some people may not, hard to imagine, may not have furniture to donate. Imagine that. But yet they're looking for ways that they can be a blessing to organizations and other people. And of course, we always see for food banks, like $40 a week will feed X amount of families, things like that. So knowing that dollar amount that you told me, you know, does help me a lot. We just came through, of course, Giving Hearts Day. And I know a year ago you were probably one of the featured, or maybe 2 years ago, one of the featured agencies. But obviously that's a big plus for you guys.
It's a huge season for us. And, you know, monetarily, it's always just, it provides a huge cornerstone for us to build off of for the rest of the year. But really, I think the power of Giving Hearts Day is the platform with which we get to be featured. You know, we're a 5-year-old nonprofit with one staff person. Like, to be able to reach that number of people is huge for us. And so really, when we think about Giving Hearts Day, not only is this season about being able to do that, our work is collaborative. It is collaborative for the rest of the year. Even agencies that we're not formal partners with, we work with. For instance, we've got a great relationship with Hope Blooms, who at the last week of every month, they send over about 20 bouquets. And so when we're serving families with furniture, we also get to say, and would you like a bouquet of flowers for your new space? That collaboration for us has changed the way we view Giving Hearts Day, because we want to lift up our nonprofit brothers and sisters who are also pouring into people. That's been huge for us. And I also appreciate that the team from DMF knows that it's not just about this one thing. They support nonprofit leaders like myself with trainings, education, that kind of stuff throughout the rest of the year. And I know has been hugely helpful for me in having zero experience fundraising. You know, I've had quite a few people act as mentors for me in that regard, to say, hey, let's look over here. Focus.
Squirrel.
Yep. Oh, shiny. And, you know, it's been hugely helpful. And we just appreciate the day and the team that puts it on. It's huge for us.
That's neat to hear about Hope Blooms. Kelly was one of our guests in one of our first podcasts, and she is just a ball of fire. Energy.
She sure is. I'm fortunate enough to think of her as a friend today.
Right on.
And her shop is not too far from ours, and so
That's right.
One of my favorite stories is that she reached out and she goes, "Hey, do you need rubber bands?"
Sorry.
And honestly, I said, we have no rubber bands. We just needed a rubber band, and we didn't have one.
Yeah.
And so they get rubber bands on the bouquets they receive from the grocery stores and from other places. And so she dropped off a 1 gallon size bag of rubber bands that we're still working through today. Thanks for the bands, Kelly Krenzel.
Yeah, you just don't think about those ordinary things. My goodness.
Yeah.
Well, I had some questions about the volunteers. You touched on that very nicely, and the recipients of things like that. But let's just kind of bring this in for a landing, as they say, wind things down. But if there's one thing, if there is one thing, it's probably tough to narrow down to one thing. But if there's really one important thing that you'd like our listeners to know about Furniture Mission and how they can help best, give it your best shot.
Yeah. You know, I think if you take anything away, I just want our listeners to know that Furniture Mission is just a doing good machine.
Yep.
It just makes sense. And from the perspective of the families we serve, they're getting tremendous value in having these tangible pieces that are going to be the table that kids can do homework at. Mm-hmm. They're going to be the couches that allow families to gather and to really have that and do it intentionally. And then also, it's tough to have a great day if you started sleeping on the floor. Mm-hmm. So it's going to help you do that. The agencies who send us families, we're providing a huge service to them because without Furniture Mission or before Furniture Mission, they were having their social workers, their caseworkers, spending their time sourcing furniture from Craigslist or Marketplace or scratch and dent rooms at furniture stores. Mm-hmm. They don't have to do that anymore. And then the last thing we just never thought about was fewer and fewer places are accepting furniture as a donated good. Or if they do, it's only when they have space for it. Okay. And so that means that a lot of stuff is kind of destined for the landfill. Right. And so if we can take those pieces, put them into our neighbors' homes that have needs, instead of filling up the earth with used furniture, right, that's just a win.
Fantastic. Yeah. Fantastic. Well, Jordan, it has been a pleasure hearing a little bit more about Furniture Mission and you and your music background and your twins, too. How old are the twins, just offhand?
Oh, sure.
Probably the same age.
I mean, yes, they're 1 minute apart. So the twins are 10, and I do have a younger that is 6. Right on. Yeah.
Sounds cool. Alrighty. Well, the website and contact information will be in the notes here on the podcast. But the website for all of you folks is just simply is furnituremissionrrv.org. I think I wrote down the phone number wrong, but you said it was 701-729-1410.
That's it.
My dyslexia kicking in. And the actual warehouse is not too far away, no coincidence, from the Fargo Police Department, the new Fargo PD, correct?
That's right, across the street.
Yep, over in that area. So it's easy to find and easy to do business with. So thank you, folks, for tuning in today, and we hope you've enjoyed it and get a little bit of good info here. There's so many agencies and people out there that are hurting and need things. You just sometimes wonder, where do I even start? Furniture Mission would be a great place. So thank you, Jordan. Enjoy your day.
Thank you,
folks, for listening. Take care. You have been listening to More Than a Funeral, Voices of the Red River Valley. And I have been your host, Tom Pence, and I'm one of the funeral directors at Corsmo Funeral and Cremation Service here in Moorhead, Minnesota. The word service has been an intentional part of our name for over 66 years, and we pride ourselves on attention to detail and personal service. Personally, my responsibilities revolve around the advanced planning aspect of our profession, and I enjoy visiting with people as we discuss the many possibilities of a memorable celebration service that will eventually honor a life according to their wishes. And from a practical standpoint, which is getting so very important these days, I help families plan ahead so that the family left behind will not be burdened with a large financial responsibility, therefore allowing them to spend time with their family, remembering their loved one, not having to worry about how to handle the expenses. Asset protection is also a very real issue these days, as many care facilities can cost several $1,000s a month, depending upon the level of care. Corsmo can provide simple and effective ways of protecting those assets, and I welcome the opportunity to visit with you about that. If you enjoyed this podcast and found some value in it, we greatly appreciate your sharing with a friend And if you have a moment, text somebody right now. Encourage them to give a listen and perhaps follow the podcast personally. We anticipate publishing a new episode on the first day of each month, so check back for interesting guests and topics. And of course, we also welcome your suggestions for future guests and topics of interest as well. So thank you for listening. And if you want more information and actually want some free estimates or just have questions, contact any of the directors at Corsmo Funeral and Cremation Service. Our phone number is 218-233-1533, and our web address is corsmofuneralservice.com. Thanks again for listening, and from all of us at Corsmo, have a great day.